Hello, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. What you're about to watch is nothing short of a cinematic masterpiece created by moi, called My First Book Challenge. So I challenged myself to make my own first book. We're still in the process of that, but this video is how I decided what the world is going to be. It's going to be everything you want it to be and everything you don't want it to be, all at once, and it's going to be fantastic. You're going to love and hate every second of it, and it's going to be nothing short of pure ecstasy. Who are the people? What are their religions? What's the biomes? What does it look like? All that good stuff. But I decided to break this up into parts for you guys. There also will be a much longer version for all of you that love the long content, but for you guys that like shorter content, that you had something out there to put on while you're doing a small load of dishes or while you're doing the laundry or something. You know, for those of you that have working functional brains that let you do those things in small bursts as opposed to just doing them all the night before you have to go to work. The larger version is over an hour long, and it was a ton of fun to make. The episode that you're about to watch is there should be a number popping up there saying which number this is. I'm not sure of the final count right now as I'm still editing the video, but it will be that number. And it's gonna be a part of this number, just so you know what you're getting into. If you don't mind going ahead and liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell so that you know when the next part comes out and so that you don't forget about this little old channel right here, that would be fantastic. And it helps the algorithm push me out to other people. It gives a happy signals to everyone. The algorithm, you, me, buckle up, strap in, grab your family, grab a mop, a broom, some gloves, your dog, whatever you need, and let's have some fun. Here's where I'm thinking that I want to get a little weird with this, right? So I think that for a story to be kind of relatable for humans, we have to have humans in there. So we're going to have humans as one of our people.
Humans disgust me.
That feels like a freebie, but you know, I think that we relate to humans very well since we're human. So I don't want to have ant people specifically. That feels like too much of like, hey, let me just take this from the wandering inn. But where I live here in Florida, we have these like little red millipedes. And I was thinking it'd be kind of cool. What if there was millipede people, but they kind of acted like Naga? So like, I'm gonna put these as bug people. I also think it'd be cool to have like, so with these bug people, maybe they live more in the desert area or maybe even in that crater in the center of the ice place. I'm not sure yet. But I think that these millipede people and these bug people, I think there needs to be a few races of them. So I'm thinking like the millipede people are like the leaders of this bug race, right? Like, so we're gonna call these leaders. And then I think we then add beetle people. And I think those are gonna be like your army and security like people. Next we have bee people. And this is gonna be like your workers, right? These are gonna be your people that are your farmers, your agricultural people. Like these are the people who are getting the work, day-to-day work done. Maybe they're even construction workers and stuff, right? For the most part, right? Like maybe there's some overlap in other areas. Like maybe there's bee people who work in the army. Maybe there's millipede people who work in the agricultural area. But I think this is where we see the most like diversity happening within these groups of people is in this bug group right here, where they have a place, but they made their own place with each other because they're kind of outcasted from society, and then they figured out what each group of them are good at. So like maybe the millipede people are just natural born leaders.
Not that way, not that way.
and the beetle people are really good at being an army and security because of their shells that they have, like their chitinous shells and their ability to, like, some beetles can fly, some beetles have those crazy horns, you know what I mean? And then bee people, maybe they just work really, like they have that hive mind mentality, so they work really well together, you know? But I do also, in this kind of like bug people thing, I want to have spider people.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
I think that these are your merchants. I think spider people, there's something about, I don't know if you ever looked at a jumping spider. And I apologize now if you've got arachnophobia and we're talking about spiders left and right now. But I don't know if you've ever looked at a jumping spider, but they have, like, I'm not a spider person, really. I think they're creepy. I'm not arachnophobic, but I think they're creepy. Not my thing, except for jumping spiders. They have, like, kind eyes. I don't know how to explain it. Like, they're the only spider I've ever seen with kind eyes. And I think that they would just make good merchants. I think they would talk to people really well, and maybe they have like a smoothness to them, like that, because the spider silk and everything. Like, maybe they're kind of similar to the millipede people in the sense where maybe the bottom half of them is a spider, and then the upper half, like the upper torso of them, is more humanoid, and that's how they interact with people very well. Is like they have that upper, like they evolved to have that humanoid section. But I think that that's kind of the group that I'm thinking right now. After that, I like the idea of a reptilian race of people, and I think within that, that's a lizard folk, drakes, snake people, true naga, and I like the idea of them being like a little bit more of a militaristic kind of people. I'm actually gonna move naga because I also like the idea within this reptile people to also then have like amphibian people. I know normally you would categorize these as like beastkin, but I think that that's a little bit too broad to just be like, these are beastkin, because like, you know, humans are animals too. Why aren't they beastkin? We're just apes at the end of the day. So I think that you do need to break these things out into their own groups of people just to make it a little bit more diversified in your book and to give them a better voice in your head. So in these amphibian people, I think that that's where we then get like salamander people and frog people, and this is where I think naga would come in, like true naga. They're not amphibian in the sense of like having that like skin the way amphibians do, at least in traditional depictions of them. But who knows, maybe my naga do have that kind of, instead of scales, it's like a slimy, soft skin, you know? Who knows? Lastly, of the people that we have to have, I want some kind of like werewolves and gnolls and stuff like that, but I don't want it to be the way you traditionally get them characterized as like gross, like, oh, it smells like wet dog in here. Like, I don't want to do that. That feels disingenuous here. I want to do something a little different. I want to make this where they're a little bit more sophisticated. So I want to do like a fur-based people, and I want this to be like your gnolls, your werewolves, werefolk. Let's call them werefolk.
Where are they, Reggie?
It's werewolves. Yeah, call them werefolk, right? And this is gonna be like wolves, coyotes, fox, bear. These are the people who maybe they were human at one point, or maybe they were drake or lizard folk at one point, and they got lycanthropy, and now they've been outcasts from their society, and they found a home in the fur-based people, right? It feels weird to call them fur-based people. We're gonna call them the beast people. Like, gnolls are gonna be like your upper echelon, right? Like, these are the true beast people, and they're the beast folk. Let's call them the beast folk. There we go, the beast folk.
Genius! Right there!
These are your true beast folk right here, your gnolls. The werefolk, these are your like wolves, coyotes, fox, bear, like that kind of like lycanthropy. These people are gonna be similar to the bug people. There's gonna be a hierarchy to these. So like the gnolls are like the natural leaders of the beast folk. There are going to be some of these werefolk within society that have like leveled up into being leader status or being in that like we're the upper echelons of society. But the gnoll people are going to see themselves as like, oh, we're the real beast folk. And like we so kindly accepted the werewolves, the were-coyotes, the fox people, and the bear people. They have that like a little bit of uppityness to them, right? I think that that's going to cover that group right there. I want the beast folk to be more mercantile kind of people. The amphibian people are going to be more of your like nomadic. And then reptile, militaristic. Bug people, bug people are going to be kind of similar to humans and like jack of all trades. So like I kind of want the bug people and the humans to be kind of similar. Like they don't see themselves as similar. Like humans are kind of grossed out by the bug people, but they're kind of the most like each other, right? In this world, humans tend to see themselves more akin to like the beast folk, right? And they're kind of like standoffish to the amphibian and reptile people due to that innate like human fear of those kind of groups. And then bug people just kind of gross them out. Like they're not really scared as much as just like, oh, why do they have so many legs? Why do they have pincers? You know, why do they talk like that? Like that kind of thing, right? But they're the most like each other at the end of the day. And then I do want to have some of your like standard groups here. I do want to have a like Goblinoid group, and this is going to be your hobs, lesser goblins, and I think orcs should fall in this Goblinoid group. An orc is the next level up from a hobgoblin. Like if you're born a lesser goblin and over time you become a hob, if you live long enough you become an orc. And then finally, I want the advanced civilization. I want this to be elves and dragons. And then in the humans, we're also gonna have half elves, half dwarves, half gnomes. So elves, gnomes, dwarves, and dragons. So the advanced civilization, this is who came first. These guys are extinct, ? And they're who came first, Goblinoid. This is gonna be looked at as monsters, but has their own society. So all of that said, this is our people. So let's break it down. We've got humans, which is going to comprise half elves, half dwarves, and half gnomes as well. Next, we've got bug people. That's gonna be our millipede people, our beetle people, our bee people, and our spider people. Then we have our reptile people. This is gonna be our lizard folk, our drakes, and our snake people. We have our amphibian people. This is gonna be our salamander people, frog people, and our naga people. Then we have beast folk. These are our gnolls, which are the true beast folk. And then our werefolk, which are people who are infected with some form of lycanthropy, if it's wolfish, coyote-ish, foxish, or bearish. Then we have our goblinoid group. This is gonna be our orcs, hobgoblins, and lesser goblins. Then we have the extinct advanced civilization. I don't like that I didn't put that as a capital C. There we go. Our extinct advanced civilization, which was where the true elves, the true gnomes, the true dwarves, and the dragons were before they were wiped out, potentially. That's gonna be our groups of people. I think this is gonna be really cool to write around. The next thing on our list here is we need to do a religion for these people. I'm going to jump into that. Okay, so I worked on this pretty much all day. And I think I finally got the hardest part of this, the belief system down. And I'm hoping that When you see what I've created and hear what I've created for these people, that you then go and watch that Religion for Breakfast video and you're like, man, he really killed it in a really good way. Like, he did a great job at that. Like, he nailed syncretism. Lived religion looks great. Religious materialism out the wazoo. I don't know if I did that, but I hope you see this and think I did that. So let's take a look at what I did. In total, there is more than one god in this series. The gods go through cycles, and when they create something, they expend all their power to do so. Then they have to recoup the power. It's not hibernation, it's not death, it's not any sort of long slumber at all. They just have to live with their creation until they can recoup enough divine power to move on and do it all over again. For this planet, the deity creates it and then lives with his creation, which we're calling the advanced civilization, while the rest of life slowly starts to evolve and adapt around them. This is where this deity differs. They've recouped their power, and instead of leaving, they help save their creation, but in return they had to damn the advanced races that they initially focused on. This deity is partaking in the trope where their selfishness to see something they created succeed ultimately leads to its downfall, and this is where they see why all the others don't stay and interfere with their creations. The races of people that do survive the cataclysm tell stories about the day this deity intervened to save the planet, and over time the story changes and the races develop their own versions of the savior story, but it's not known what the advanced civilizations truly believe. Need some water. This can be one of those religions where the deity creates everything, gets to live with their creation for a while, and then saves them, where maybe some of the other deities out there would have seen the cataclysm happening, and they've just been like, you know what, you guys caused this, you're SOL, see you guys, I'm out.
I'm gonna bounce out.
However, this deity doesn't do that and sacrifices themselves to save their people that they created. You know, in quotation, sacrifices himself. Maybe they didn't, maybe they did. Maybe the deity does pass away, you know, when it dies. You know, where's the god go when they die? I don't know yet. I haven't decided exactly how that works just yet, but I did take that chunk of text there and then turn it into a religion for each of the races below. So we're gonna start with humans.
Human beings?
Human beings.
Humans latch onto the original style of the story. Their beliefs are a male identity deity who saves the world from the folly of the original races. He swoops in, grabs the moon before it can blow up everything, contains the cataclysm to just the southern part of the planet where the desert is, and ultimately saves everyone. So this leaves humans to start the belief system that they're trying to live in the world. They've been allowed a chance to live here. The deities saved them, so they want to live in this world. They don't want to save the world, which is a distinction that needs to be made, and you'll see why later. From a ritualization standpoint, each one of them has a shrine in their homes of a hand holding a cracked moon as it's about to shatter. They pray to this daily, and every town has even larger ones somewhere in the town. Sometimes it's the center, sometimes it's near the main political office of the town, but every town has a much larger one that is cleaned up and upkept by a religious organization. Everyone in human towns pay a 35% tax to this religious organization to keep the statue and their own town clean and quote-unquote safe. They have a day of the week where they celebrate their deity. Think of like the modern Christian church, but instead of it being for a couple hours, then you go and watch football. This is an all-day event starting from dawn and ending at sunset once a week. They sing songs, they celebrate the deity, and altogether it's just supposed to bring the community together. So humans tend to have a little bit of a weird community aspect where, you know, I don't think it's that weird. It's actually kind of similar to humans in real life. Like they're very tied together. There's always something keeping them just a little bit distant from each other, you know? From a religious materialization standpoint, they have bracelets where the ends of them are hands clutching onto the shattered moons that they wear. Of course, there's their shrines that they have. They all have a book called the Divine Hand that's somewhere in their house, and it just details the life of the deity that saved the world. Again, this is a 20,000-year-old story at this point in the story. So there's probably some liberties that have been taken with this, Other than that, they have other jewelry. There's necklaces, rings, all kinds of stuff, but it all centers around that like hand grasping onto a moon kind of symbolism. From syncretism and lived religion aspect, they don't really do much when it comes to the other races. There's some overlap with what they believe, what their beliefs are, but it really comes down to reptile folk and amphibian folk, where this is really the biggest the biggest sources of syncretism, and that's just because of proximity for the most part. Like, there are beast folk tribes and cities near humans for sure, but they kind of keep their distance from each other for the most part. Really, humans interact more with the amphibian folk and the reptile folk than any of the other races here, other than the bug folk, and we'll get to them later as to why there's no syncretism with them or lived religion with them. So for humans, when it comes to reptile folk, the human symbolism is seen as a human with a dragon. So the human is a dragon rider, and they're working in harmony with dragons to save the world. Instead of a divine hand grasping the moon, it's a claw and a hand grasping at the moon. Historical texts are treated with reverence, and the divine hand is renamed the grasp of the divine. The weekly celebration still occurs here. That's with reptile folk. When it comes to amphibian folk, these groups tend to believe that savior deity did exist, but he gave his life not to save the folk of the world, but to instead save the world itself. They tend to have a mixture of their shamanic oracles and clergy of the humans, which showcases itself in a blended ritual of a 10% flat tax on all goods and wealth earned. These objects go right back to the shaman and their clergy, and then there's a monthly celebration of life honoring all those who have died and have yet to be born. So that's humans in a nutshell. So let's move on over to reptile folk. Reptile folk are much more conservative with their beliefs outwardly, and they tend to be very crusader-like. Their belief is that the deity was a dragon, and dragons stepped in to save the world when they were most needed.
When the world needed him most, he vanished.
Obvious from that, dragon worship, again, male identity deity. They're trying to mimic this by being the militaristic force that is going to unite the world. So again, a dragon steps in and saves the world, and then from what their people have in historical texts, it says that dragons were kind of the unifying factor of the advanced civilizations. So they're trying to do that same thing, but they have a very heavy hand in it. So from ritualization standpoints, daily prayer, and they practice body as a temple mentality, so daily exercise. It's part of their religious beliefs. Religious materializations, the first tooth that they lose as a child is encased in gold, and they wear it around their neck for the rest of their life. The reason for this is that the tooth itself is to represent gluttony, and the gold is to represent greed. So it's supposed to be the folly of greed and gluttony. This is supposed to be like kind of a reminder of why the world is the way that it is, why their ancestors had to step in to save the world. And then for them, historical texts are also considered reverent from their point of view. So if the text is from the point of view of reptile folk, then they consider this to be a reverent text. As far as syncretism and live religion, we already talked about how they work with humans, so let's talk about how they work with the amphibian folk. So reptile folk see themselves as the true blood and a sanctified group. As such, the reptile folk tend to overtake any amphibian folk settlements really quickly, as they see them as lesser reptiles or cursed. You'll see a lot of smooth scales kind of talk and stuff like that. The reptile folk don't view the amphibian folk very well overall. The amphibian folk are expected to believe the same doctrine and assimilate quickly. If this is near a human and reptile populace, again, same situation. Amphibian folk are expected to assimilate into the human and reptile belief system. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the amphibian folk. So we just covered the reptile folk and their unfortunate beliefs towards our amphibian friends. The amphibian folk, they tend to be more liberal with their beliefs, the main crux of their belief being that it's mostly shamanic and that they believe that the savior was just someone trying to contain the problem they created by going against the nature of the world. So where they're a lot more loose in like the actual structures of their beliefs, their main belief system is that you should protect the earth at all costs. They believe that the planet itself is God and that the inhabitants of the planet should revere it, and they have no problem with the other belief systems and do not push theirs outwardly with shrines or other material objects. So again, they're kind of think of them as like the more new agey kind of religions where it's like, yeah, man, do what you want. You know, you're good. You know, I'm cool with Jesus, man. I'm cool with Buddha. You do your thing, I'll do my thing. You know, that kind of belief system.
So our species could coexist.
That's kind of where they fall in. They just then take it to the other side of they have a structured belief as well in the background. They're just not going to force it on you. If you want to hear about it, then cool, they'll talk about it. As far as rituals go, they're kind of loose for the younger generations and more fervently held by older generations. Their practices are to bring the lunar and solar solstices back. So because the moon is in the center of the planet and it's stuck there, there's no more solstices because the moon used to be out there and it would, you know, travel with the sun around like this.
It's science.
So since it's stuck now, they don't have that anymore. So their crux of their like what we want is they want the solstices to come back. They haven't succeeded, but one day they hope to heal the planet and the moon through this process. They also have a ritualistic sacrifice of 10% of X to the planet in hopes of healing it. That X factor,
Is that a relevant factor?
can be crops, money earned, or even time in a day. Maybe they spend 10% of their time in a day cleaning up around the town, you know, just taking care of the earth around them. As far as religious materialization, no material objects, teachings are passed down through shamanic oracles, male and female, who tell the story generation after generation. When it comes to syncretism, you'll have the interactions with humans and reptile folk. How amphibian folk have some more interactions with the other races. It's a lot more minor, and we'll talk about their interactions with amphibian folk as we get to the other races. Let's move on to the bug folk. The bug folk are fun because they're extremely rigid in their beliefs. It is punishable by death to stray from the shadow of the celestial queen.
Oh, who could that be?
They believe in a deity that is trapped on the floating chunk of the desert that orbits the planet. This deity is called the Celestial Queen. Their belief is that the deity was cast out by this savior as she wished to uplift the bug folk to an advanced status, but the savior and his folk opposed her. The cataclysm is what occurred when the Celestial Queen and the Savior clashed. The clash ended when the Queen was wounded trying to save the Immortal Fool. Again, that's in quotations, the Immortal Fool from the Savior. The Immortal Fool was the first of the bug folk uplifted by the Celestial Queen and her lover. His name is struck from records as his actions injured the Celestial Queen and led to her banishment. As far as ritualizations go, they have a yearly event called the Celestial Morn. From dawn until dusk, the hives and nests of the bug folk shut down once every 64 years. During this time, all production, all war, all actions are halted in remembrance of the Immortal Fool's actions. No matter what they're doing, the bug folk freeze in place. They will not perform any actions during these hours and are vulnerable to all threats. So that's something that they take into consideration. Like if it is on that 64-year cycle, it's coming up, they make sure that they're not in any battles or anything like that. They do what they can to protect themselves. Obviously, people take advantage of that where they can, but again, the bug folk know, like they know when this is happening. They're a very rigid society, so they make sure to make plans ahead of time so that this doesn't, interfere with their ultimate goals. For religious materialization, so remember we have multiple types of bug folk. We have millipede people, beetle people, bee people, and spider people. So, those millipede folk wear a necklace with a pendant shaped like the lost section of the desert. That section that's floating out in space, orbiting, kind of in a stuck orbit around the planet. Beetle folk paint their shells in their favorite color in hopes that their celestial queen might see and honor them when she's saved. The bee folk have the story of their lost queen and her parables in ornate books throughout their homes. The more ornate the book, the better it is, the more reverence that you're giving to the queen. The spider folk wear elaborate silks made in their own spider silk thread. The silk is added to every year of their life until they die. Should they marry, they'll begin to intertwine silk from that partner, and it doesn't have to just be spider silk from their partner. It can be actual silk as well, but it does have to be silk. It's one of those, the more you're spending, the more that you're giving up to your deity. As far as syncretism in lived religion goes, there's a kind of an if this then that situation happening here, right? So overall, they do not practice syncretism with other races. They go to war, and if they lose the war, then if they're near humans, they assimilate in the predominant culture and hide their true beliefs. Again, same thing with reptile folk, same thing with amphibians, and same thing with beast folk. They do not lose to goblins. It's not what happens. They always win. If they win a war against any of them, the conquered are completely and entirely destroyed. Their queen was given no clemency, and they will give none as well. They're very rigid, very strict culture. That said, those that do decide to practice syncretism with the other races are considered parasites to be culled by the celestial court, the people who rule over the bug folk. These parasites are mostly spider folk. So the number of spider folk have left the celestial court, forming a new order that hopes to bridge the gaps of all faiths and bring together the people of the planet. So this isn't just spider folk, but it's mostly spider folk, and they're trying to bridge everyone. Think of a spider spinning their thread and making their web. They're trying to bring everyone together in their web of influence. We're getting to the beast folk. Beast folk aren't just like anything and everything. They are the true beast folk, which are the gnolls, and then they are the were folk. So we're talking werewolves, were coyotes, were foxes, were bears. Were bears. So beast folk believe themselves cursed and are trying to find a cure. Their belief is that the beast lord failed in his duty to the savior and was cursed to forever be one of the beasts that he had once tamed. This created the first of the gnolls. The beast lord saw this as a boon and thanked the savior. In fury, the savior used the last of his power to curse the family of the beast lord. His eldest daughter, who loved foxes, began to slowly transform, a snout forming and her form slendering further and a tail beginning to grow. After months, she became the first of the were-foxes. His middle son, who wrestled and tamed bears, suffered a similar fate, and his form is that of a were-bear. Were-bears. His youngest son, who hunted coyotes and kept the land safe from scavengers, would become the first of the were-coyotes, and his wife, who raised dire wolves, would become the first of the werewolves. All of their lifespans were significantly extended, and they each lived well into their second centuries, but they were outcast by the society that was left after the cataclysm. Once every 40 days, they would painfully transform back into their original forms, which for them were elves. The curse persists through their descendants and their loved ones. So think as they married humans and created half-elves, and as the elven blood disseminated out into eventually just being basically humans or humanoids, that curse still lingered through the trace elements left of their blood. Their belief system is centered around remembering where their curse comes from, the failure of the beast lord. As far far as ritualizations go, on the day of their change, they attempt to mate in hopes that their children will be free of the curse. This is preceded by a sacrifice to the savior. In the light of the broken moon, they spill the blood of a calf. This doesn't have to be fresh blood though, so it could be bottled blood, but it has to be blood of a calf, at least in their viewpoint it does. And then they pray to the savior asking for forgiveness. Afterwards, they attempt to conceive a child free of the curse. So far, it has not happened. Again, religious materializations, blood of a calf. Syncretism and lived religion. Where they're near humans, the belief is mostly unchanged. However, they tend to forego the blood of a calf and instead assuming their taxes to take this place. Again, there's not a lot of beast folk near humans anymore. They've kind of been outcasted. Humans and reptile folk tend to see them as like, meh, you know. However, where they are accepted by reptile folk, they tend to embrace their curse. They don't wish it to end. They see their new lives as beneficial. They're stronger and faster than normal humanoids, and they enjoy the stricter structure of reptile folk society, choosing to mostly adopt their traditions and values. So the beast folk that are near the reptile folk tend to just join in. They like it. They like the society that the reptile folk happen to have. They like the structure. They like the militaristic regime, and they like that they are kind of stronger humans. They feel like they're the next part of human evolution. They don't view this as a curse, just like the Beast Lord initially didn't. Where near amphibian folk, the beast folk retain their traditions and add in the honoring of the planet. Their views change from that of a failure to help the savior into that of a failure to protect the planet. They don't see this as them messing up protecting the savior. The Beast Lord didn't mess that up. They see their curse as being given to them because they messed up in protecting the planet. Where near the bug folk, as I said earlier, traditional bug folk of a celestial court do not take prisoners. But for the non-traditionalists, the parasites, they still continue to honor the beliefs of the beast folk, and they sell them the blood of the calves that they use in their rituals. Where near goblins, they just kill the goblins quickly. That's what they do. They don't think goblinoids should exist. So we've made it to my actual favorite one of all of these. I did a lot of thinking on this one because I really like the trope of redeeming goblins. I like it. I don't like making them into little like World of Warcraft Boston goblins. I don't like it, you know.
Time is money, friend.
I like redeeming them as a people by showing that they already are a people, right? So they might need to change a little bit, right? But who doesn't need to change? Goblinoids. Their belief, survive long enough to become an orc. Once orc, become strongest. Make many children, become deity by blood. Ritualizations. Do what you need to survive. Religious materialization. Favorite object. What's your favorite thing? That's what they've got. Syncretism and lived religion. Where near humans? Where near reptile folk? Where near amphibian folk? Where near beast folk? Run and hide unless orc, then fight. Where near bug folk? Run and hide even if orc. And that's it. That's all of the belief systems here. I think that we've got a fun system here. Let me know what you think. This was the main crux of what generated this whole challenge of creating a fantasy world in a day. So let me know what you think of these different aspects of a religion that I came up with, and let me know how I did in comparison to that religion for breakfast video.
Like a wrecking ball breaking through the atmosphere. The storm